Hello, everybody, or whoever is out there with me. Let me move my mic over to this side. Yes, we are back. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me, Brankima? Awesome, awesome. Good to see you. Good to see you guys. So basically, I wanted to go online just to tell you guys that I'm going to be at Freedom Slips Revolutionary Radio tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it's going to be an every Tuesday night thing for 2 hours between 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time till midnight. Awesome. I'm going to put the link out there for you guys too. It'll be every Tuesday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Awesome. So glad to have you guys with me. So we'll be doing some live streams on a regular basis. This one was just to start to get the word out there about the radio channel. Hi, Daisy Duke. I'm glad you like the videos. One of the other things I want to do is when we do these live streams, when we get a good audience participating, we could start doing it with intention. And that's going to be a big, powerful thing. So it would be a great way for you guys to talk to each other, but we'll also have a particular intent in mind. As far as, like say right now, we could send the intent to basically help everybody in Guatemala, because there still might be people that could be saved there potentially. And there might be people that are trapped and need assistance. So, perhaps we could send our prayers and our best wishes there for the people there. And hopefully more people will be found alive. Yes, yeah, it is short. It's very short. So true, Stack. So we'll be using this as a forum and a way to go ahead and send intent as well on a regular basis. Yes, definitely. Does anybody have any questions? As Branky Ma was saying, open dialogue between us opens up the education and the knowledge on the type of live streams that we have going. Love and light to you all. So it's good to see you guys here. I know I didn't do this announced. This was impromptu. I just want to get the word out about the about the radio. Yes. What happens when we can't communicate here? That's something we're going to have to work on, making our network between people. because as I mentioned in today's video, I've noticed that it's there's a lot of lag and stuff with not only my internet, but with friends, with neighbors, family members, people, in all other locations. I'm hearing from people all over the world that, I think it's really what's happening with the magnetosphere is finally hitting the satellites. It's hitting us on the ground. So we don't really know how much longer we have before we're not going to be able to communicate fully with each other as we are right now. Good to see you, Robert. How are you doing tonight? Definitely. So we'll send some love and healing to Matt Rogers, Skywatcher. Well, it's good to see you, my friend. I will send the link over again for you guys. It's going to be on Freedom Slips Revolution Radio, and it's on Schedule A. There's two, Schedule A and Schedule B. And actually, right after me, like I'm on Tuesdays, every Tuesday at 10 p.m. till midnight. And then on Wednesday, on the same time frame, is David from Oppenheimer. So he's on Wednesdays, 10 till midnight. And then David from Adapt 2030 is on Thursdays from 10 till midnight. So that's pretty cool. Hi, Tammy Sanford. How are things in Orlando? It's nice that we have some sunshine for a change instead of all that rain. Predictive programming for the pole shift is getting more obvious. I think it's getting to be more and more of a mainstream thing every day for sure. And I agree with you, Thought Criminal. I think we are the aliens. I don't think we were the original life form here on this planet. Good to see the family interacting. Well, Robert, by the time they admit it, it would be like too late to do anything. We know how they are, for sure. Gosh, I forget what the name of this mic is. Can you hear me pretty well? Yes, I'm watching you I'm watching you guys, which is kind of cool. I'm going to figure out a way to run a live stream where you guys could just interact as well. And on Freedom Slips Revolution Radio too, there's going to be a forum for the Evolutionary Energy Arts family. So there's going to be a forum there, and there'll actually be a spot where you could interact with each other all the time, leaving messages and all. Well, thank you guys. We're definitely going to grow this in so many different ways. We'll do more live, specific live streams with purpose. This is really kind of a test run just to let you guys know mostly about the radio station tomorrow night. But we'll do more live streams as well. Especially geared towards sending energy and sending prayers to specific situations as they arise. So Larry G is saying poles shifting within 60 days. Do you think there'll be crustal displacement? Are you talking just the magnetic shift first? It's my pleasure. You're welcome. I'm glad you're here. So no chemtrails or clouds in the sky in Ohio. I don't think I've ever seen that. I spent about 4 years in Ohio. Thank you, my friend. Sir HLCP, do you have any questions? Yeah, almost a scary thought. If they stopped chemtrailing, we'd be in trouble. It would almost feel like a bad sign. Ah, circle. Doing well, brother. Namaste. Well, I think that we're already in the shift. And actually, I think my opinion on this shift has changed because I think I was thinking that the magnetic poles are going to be moving, and then all of a sudden we're going to have just one sudden movement of the crust. But I'm thinking now perhaps it's actually going to move in small shifts. Thank you, Jolene. I wish I could see all your faces too. That would be wonderful. Any new mantras? I could definitely put a lot more mantras up for sure. I've been basically sticking with the ones that I usually do most of the time because they just seem to put me into a good zone. Well, good to see you, Stack. Why are all the sinkholes and cracks appearing? I think it's part of everything that's going on. I do think we have an expanding Earth in reality. So I do think it is expanding. I think that it's all the energy coming in, interacting with the core of the earth, and it's part of everything that's happening. But the bigger picture for me, really, I believe, is it's ascension. It's changing consciousness ultimately. Hey, Mark. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that plasma core rod. It just seems to make sense. And when you think about it, perhaps Earth and all planets, go through these phases on their path of evolution as they change and grow. It's definitely ascension. There's just too many things. Like when I was doing energy work on people about 5 years ago, the amount of people that had experiences with energy, was much, much lower than now. So now when ask people, well, have you ever felt energy? I mean, so many people are like, yeah, yeah, they feel tingling. They could feel their chakras now. Way more people could feel those things than could feel those things in the past. And that's because everything is going up the line, increasing in frequency and vibration. I think we're stewards. I think we're supposed to be that way, Renee. I think we've forgotten who we are. The indigenous people know who we are, and that we are supposed to be caretakers and stewards of the earth. But unfortunately, the people that have been in control, they're just pillagers of the earth. They're more like a parasite. And so we've lost our way. That's unfortunately what we have, and we have to regain that. Well, I know, Robert, that we definitely shift as far as the angle of the earth. It does shift as we go, along the whole precession of the equinox. It does vary in the tilt in the orbit. But there's also changes going on a bigger scale too. The whole solar system, perhaps the whole galaxy as well. The only way I believe in a flat Earth is if this is all an illusion and we're actually on a giant alien spaceship. That's the only way I could see that actually being real. And I know there's some people that are so convinced flat Earth is a real thing. So Christina says, how about one truth, one holy Bible, and nothing else matters in my eyes? Well, we each have our own path to go. So peace and love to you too. Everybody has their own path to take. And, that's kind of how I felt when I was about 20. And with me, my brother died when I was 5 years old, and my brother was 11 years older than me. So I remember coming home, everybody went to the funeral, all that. And I remember coming home, and on the counter was a Catholic, Bible, King James Bible, and then also one of those Catholic missal books, and so I remember bringing those to a neighbor's, and because she was 8 and she could actually read to me, and saying, does this tell me where my brother went? Can you please explain to me? So that was kind of the beginning of my voyage, and it's never stopped. And then when I was able to actually read and understand, I went through the Bible at 11, book to book, cover to cover, and then went deeper. And I've always been going deeper ever since, and read the Pseudepigrapha, gone through all the Nag Hammadi, the Dead Sea Scrolls. I used to go to Bible study twice a week for years. Every Saturday and Wednesdays, as well as going to church every Sunday. So, I've studied it inside and out. And, for me personally, it just led me to a lot more questions, and it led me to discovering all these other paths and studying all those as well. It's really all about changing your life, is like you said. It's all about whatever it is that changes you on the inside, so that now you're really living out of compassion, living out of empathy, living out of love. That's really all that matters. Thank you. Kurt, what do you mean about Newton knew what was coming? Love and peace, Gwenna. Serendipity D. I totally agree. Nibiru. Yeah, there's a lot there. There's definitely a lot of interesting stuff as far as that goes. I was first exposed to Sitchin's books way back. When they first came out, I started to delve into them, and so I totally loved them and found them, very interesting and enlightening. Made sense, filled in a lot of the gaps. Because when you look at what we have in the Bible, it's so small compared to some of the other things that are out there, especially when you go into the Sumerian writings. And just like take the Book of Enoch. There's just little blurbs in the Bible. Genesis 6, it's just a tiny little blurb. But then you get a much bigger picture when you read the whole Book of Enoch, which is actually quite large and very fascinating. But do I think that there is a Nibiru? Yeah, I'm still somewhat up in the air, but I do think that there is something. And whether it's always a 3D thing or whether we're coming back up into where it really is in 5D, I've gotten from some sources, like if you guys know BP Earthwatch, he believes Nibiru is Jupiter. And there are other people that believe Nibiru is Jupiter as well. And there's some ways you could kind of definitely get that as well when you look at certain aspects of the writings. And do we know the whole picture really on those gas giants? Do we really know? We don't even really know what's like once you go down deeper into them. It's all what we're told by NASA, never a straight answer. And there's more than that to it too. There's a whole big thing I was sent from one of our subscribers on NASA that I'm debating doing a whole video on, because I know it's going to be really contentious and stir up a lot of crap. And I'm not sure if it's going to be too negative to go on to bring down. Many people are doing that, Mark. Yeah, many people are going off into the woods, like our brother Eric Rose. He was always on the channel. He's out there now. I've talked to him several times, and he's out there. He's in his safe location, and just basically him in the woods. Yeah, I totally agree, Larry G. It's the pole shift and the consciousness shift, they go hand in hand. Okay, thought criminal. Latency to low. Yeah, that's an interesting thought, Eric. You would say gravity, but and there's no sort of combustion going on. There's no nuclear fusion or fission going on as far as the gas giants. We very well could be part of a binary or maybe even a trinary system. Because there are those that believe that we're part of the Sirius system as well. The alien reptilians of Moloch on Saturn and the moon. Do I talk to them? No, I've never really met them. Exactly. Yeah, there's so many things hidden in take the Bible for instance. There's their out and out obvious parables, and then there's deeper esoteric meanings. That's what happens, Stack. I mean, it happens to all of us as we wake up. Other people will think we're crazy, and I have a friend of mine. She does a lot of astrology and stuff, and so she calls what basically is the main part of the Earth population Earthers. They just there's a lot of people that just don't understand these type of topics that we're talking about, and they'll never kind of get it, but they'll totally believe the mainstream media, and they'll just be so self-absorbed in everything that's that we're fed, whether it's just basically being tuned in on the football game or this type of beer and the whole dichotomy of liberal and conservative and all that. Well, Brankima, you're definitely an empath. So it's tough. It's basically by grounding, going within, having your regular routine. My morning meditations and qigong are what keep me from feeling like too heavy. And sometimes you get really heavy, definitely. And so for me, that's what I do. Just basically connect to the earth because the earth is connecting to the higher realms. So, you're going to be able to help yourself purge and then rise at the same time. Yeah, it's depressing to think about how they view us, Sam Groper. But you see it in all the old ancient writings as well. He did, Robert. Your doctor set you up for a CAT scan after talking about the sun simulator. It's a good idea, Mark. Definitely. You know, that when you're talking about getting the MRIs for because of the way your thoughts are, that reminds me of like when I first saw energy. I had my eyes checked constantly and they were always fine, but I could just see the energy around people, and I could look up in the air and see like all these different waves of energy and particles floating in all different sorts of directions that actually look to be alive and have purpose. Surviving life after it falls apart. You might do better with something like Qigong, where you have to just focus on your movement and your breath. Still, meditation could be very tricky and very tough, especially if you're just, trying to still the mind, but you could get there. I think really for us here in the Western world, doing something and moving could be an easier form of meditation. I do thought criminal all the time. I have since probably the 80s. Those tiny floating lights that move randomly, they're almost like you're looking at something under a microscope, and they seem to have intelligence. It probably could cause a lack of vitamin D. Yeah, unless they have it calibrated, I guess. Depends on the light that they're sending out. You could definitely get a feel from the profile pictures. Oh God, I love the Caribbean is the most beautiful place I've been to. I love the Caribbean. Um, last year was scary with the hurricanes, just super intense. It would definitely be a place I'd be worried about being, anywhere out in those islands, just because the storms are going to get stronger and, fear of a tsunami. Although, it definitely, while you're there, it's gorgeous. The Caribbean is just as beautiful as it gets. Yeah. Yeah, I think Gaia Earth is alive. It's an actual being with intelligence, thoughts, feelings, emotions, just like us. So we're kind of like all the amoebas inside our bodies, in relation to the earth. You could think of it, like that. We're part of the microbiome of the earth. Yeah, it's been consistent in the Caribbean as far as the earthquakes. Every now and then, we had a couple of bigger ones earlier. Robert, did they revise it up or down as far as the amount of hurricanes? Yeah, so Daisy Duke's saying all colors in nature seem much more vibrant. And yeah, they will probably continue to seem that way as we ascend up. So they revised the hurricane number downwards. That's interesting. Thought criminal, do I see the smoke like a vortex coming from the head? I do often. It's weird to look at yourself. But yeah, when I look at people, I'll zone out and then I could actually see, the chakras most of the time. Especially easy, like if we're out in bright sunlight if you have something really bright behind you. So you can see it, Thought Criminal? Yeah, it does look like smoke. It's going to happen at some point, Stack, for sure. The New Madrid. Hey, Jane, how are you? Can you see other layers to the aura, Thought Criminal? Yeah, it's definitely a scary thought. The New Madrid would be a very, very bad earthquake to happen when we do get it. I'm good, Jane. I'm good. Yellowstone is rumbling again. Yeah, it's just a matter of kind of zoning out too. You know, you just kind of like you see your target and you look past your target and let your eyes relax, and then you could kind of see the outline of the energy around the person take shape. Anything you want to share, Palm Tree Lee by the sea, feel free to share. Me too, Robert. I've always been able to see people's faces like that really clearly. Cloud busting. Yes. Played around with it a little bit. Well, thank you, Palm Tree Lee by the sea. Scott Moore. So, I mean, are we talking like the Maitreya or one of the two witnesses or something along those lines? Another avatar. I would not be surprised because we are in such a transformational time. 30 volcanoes erupting today. I think we're all going to be able to do that at some point. Like look into people's eyes, look at their energy, and know, you know, whether they're talking the truth or whether they're selling us something. And that's part of the reason why the powers that be know their time is limited, because it's getting really easy to just see through their crap. Yeah. Did you guys see on Mr. MBB 333's channel that storm that went, and you had a regular front coming in from the west, and this other storm just speeds up and goes straight into it? It was like the most obvious case of weather wars, or totally, I mean, that was just like, I can't believe it. That was so obvious. They're totally controlling the weather. When Hurricane Harvey, you could just clearly see them go and basically shoot something from Mexico, and it just changes the direction of Harvey, and then boom, it got so intense, and then it just stalled right there and flooded everything out. Yeah, definitely a manufactured storm. So you're in Naples, Mark? Yeah, I love Mr. MBB 333. He never really, he doesn't put his opinion out there. He leaves it for you, and he stays out of the mix, but he comes up with some great stuff. I think we could change outcomes a lot, Princess Warrior. As far as trying to make the earth changes a little bit less intense, or people having warnings so they could get out in time. You were in Harvey, Robert. Okay. Oh yeah, Mark, you're in Orlando. That's right. Huh. I like Diamond too, Eric. He's also hilarious. He could be a little definitely funny at times for sure. Did you have a question, Lilith? I'll respond to anybody. And a lot of people feel like they could communicate to the animals a lot easier now as well, and the plants as well. Hi, Water Dragon. Yeah, I mean, Diamond could be definitely sarcastic at times, but it's his personality. Yeah, he sure does in Al Gore. That's the one thing, though. Yeah, he doesn't believe in chemtrails, and I can't believe that. Hey there, Texas Archangel. I wouldn't doubt that Dutch had predicted Fuego. Yeah, it does. MBB does a lot on the animal things that are going on. There's a lot going on with the chemtrails. Eric, it's many things in one. And there's one thing that I'm still like going through, and I know people have talked about it in the past. It's a document from NASA that is very disturbing. And it actually is, it appears to be real, but I just want to look into it a little bit more. They're doing all sorts of stuff with the chemtrails, all sorts of stuff. Weather control, sure. There's also definitely other forms of control going on with it as well. Bacterial, viruses, all sorts of stuff are up in the chemtrails, and things that might be worse than that. I mean, things that are just really scary stuff. Yeah, exactly. Chemtrails are like an onion. Many layers, each makes you cry. They're talking about there being nanotechnology up in the chemtrails that will, it's actually small nanotechnology like a dust that can get into your lungs and then just actually bore away. And it's robotic. So there's a lot of scary stuff with it. So Lilith says, I said that the pole shift was going to happen over a long time. How is that possible? Well, there's the magnetic pole shift, which is happening, and it probably started happening at least back in the 1800s, if not farther back, because we know that from like 1842 to 2000, we lost 10% of the magnetosphere. So they're always wandering. The magnetic poles are always wandering, always in the move, and then at some point, the crust, according to crustal displacement theory, shifts, and it's all, we could see traces of it, like we were talking about the coral. Being something that really only happens in the tropics, especially around the equator, typically, but there's coral all over, and so that kind of points to the fact that the crust has shifted. And I mean, if you talk mainstream will tell you that a pole shift takes thousands of years, just a very, very long time. But the answer is that there's evidence that some of them have happened right away. I mean, very, very fast, and even within one generation in the past. They have weaponized the atmosphere. Yeah, Fukushima is just a horrible thing. Yeah, you're right, Lilith, about Vega. That's supposed to be where the pole is going to end up. Question on the passage of time? So Kuriko, from the info that I have, and then from like my inner instincts, I think that the grid collapse is most likely to happen maybe in about another year and a half. But we might be seeing signs of it now. So as far as the tsunami or the collapse, hard to say. It's really hard to say. I think, in my mind, I've always felt that I'm going to see the big things happening in the Pacific, and then it's time to, get away from the eastern coast. But I could be wrong, but that's always what my gut has said. It's a good thing to do. Can your food. That's awesome. Yeah, I agree. This summer's, we're going to get a good idea of what's going to happen. Thank you, Eric. For each new age, they rebuild the stage. I love that, Lawrence. Well, I mean, like a gas generator would still work if the power goes out. You're welcome, Branky Ma. Hi, John. You weren't a pest. It just took a long time to get it going. And I have to always put the screen up too, because otherwise I get that echo. The homeless population, in one sense, it might bother them less than us because they're already used to surviving out there. That's really cool, Sean. Yeah, you're definitely getting hit hard with the heat out there, Nigel. A microwave or a dishwasher. I don't even think we'll really care so much about those type of things when it really hits the fan. And microwaves aren't good for you anyway, so I would not use a microwave. Thank you, Mark. Yes, people across the country are facing different things. I mean, how many of you guys have seen all these like incredible floods in, say, Virginia and in North Carolina? It's been brutal. Maryland. And then we have that extreme heat over there in the west with the fires. I am too, Mark. Georgia too, yep. Yeah, Crystal in Maryland. Have you been affected by the floods? Robert, you're too kind. Wow. Yeah, .com. It could be really tough when your family members don't have a clue. They just don't understand. Or friends. Yeah, I know there's been prophecies about the last president, also prophecies about the last pope, because this is supposedly the last pope as well. We know what times we're in, for sure. Circle P. So Garfield served 2 non-consecutive terms. Yeah, yeah. Same Malachi, yes. Processed sugar is poison, for sure. I don't eat processed sugar ever, or drink it. And honestly, and when I was like in my late 20s and early 30s, I had all sorts of allergies and asthma. And between my energy, doing my Qigong, and then changing my diet, it all went away. I used to use a inhaler all the time. All right. So everybody, this is Zeke, just so you could see. So this is the famous Zeke. So you probably hear his clip clopping on the floor all the time. But he's a sweetheart. He's a rescue. And he's about the sweetest dog I've ever known. He's so well trained. I used to live on a second floor apartment, and I could let the door open, and when it was snowing really hard out there, he'd run out, go do his business, come right back up. So well trained. Okay, thanks, buddy. Mm-hmm. So Daniel R says, are we monitored by higher evolution beings like spiritual and technological? And do they have secret bases here on Earth? I'm not saying aliens, but I think, yeah, I think for sure. There's all different types of beings out there, honestly. I think there's so many different types of beings and life forms out there. Some benevolent, some not so benevolent. And obviously there's a not so benevolent bunch that have been running things here for a while. And at the top, I think that we have beings that are not really human as well. Yeah, animals are amazing. They're just so full of love. Uh, so is that a Pyrenees mix and then a long-haired Dotson Christie? Yeah, difference in size for sure. Yeah, I totally believe in angels. Totally. I've just had so many occurrences with them, both things I've felt and seen and things others have felt and seen with me there and them there as well. Yes, Jane, for sure. 10D chess. That's a good way of putting it. Peace out, Mark. I think there are guardian angels for sure. I think that we have quite a few beings that are attached to us during our lives. And it's kind of interesting to think about that because then, if you do think about it, what does it mean? I mean, how many beings are there, say, in the dimensions just next to us that are not in this type of physical form? And compared to the amount of people that are actually in physical form. So, I'll share with you when let me think, I was 19 and I had my first apartment and I was sleeping in the apartment by myself and I had what people would call sleep paralysis, but it didn't feel like sleep paralysis to me. It felt like something climbed on top of me that was dark and not nice, and I couldn't move. And I was just frozen, but I was wide awake and aware. And I've seen people say that that's just because your bodies aren't lined up. You were actually awake in this, you were sleeping and astral body didn't come back and line up perfectly with the physical body. This wasn't that. This was not that at all. This was something that felt like it was attacking me. And what I thought, I mean, at that point in time, I was completely born again Christian. So then I thought for Jesus' help to come and help me and focusing on him and focusing on the archangels. And then it did leave, but it was a struggle to get it away. Um, but it did. So it could definitely work. There is power in light for sure. There's power in certain beings for sure, and the dark side will flee for sure. I've experienced it, and then I did paranormal investigations for years, and ran into a lot of things, entities out there that you know people wanted them out of the house. So I helped them move on. And again, I would always basically use a particular ritual that I felt comfortable with that calls on the archangels. And it would work every time. It's always worked. And then since I've gotten used to doing that twice a day, every day for like 30 or more years now, I've not felt those type of attacks. That's all stopped. Mhm. Um, yeah, I would say I could be classified as shaman in some ways, Lilith. Yeah, my faith is strong for sure. I know it differs from a lot of the people in our evolutionary energy arts family in that it's a little bit more expansive and inclusive. You know, my father has Native American Indian in him. He's passed on now, and so I feel very, very comfortable with a lot of different systems and ways. Thank you, Sundog. Yeah, connecting to the higher powers every day is a good idea. Thank you, MM. I appreciate it. Oh, okay. Hmm. Well, Robert, I'm a brown belt in Hapkido and a brown belt in Taekwondo and Tang Soon Do. And then, gosh, going way back, I think I was like a green belt in Judo. Yes, Cherokee. How did you know? Um, and then also, basically, I've done my Qigong for about 30 years now. So lumberjack, yeah, when you do read it cover to cover, there's a lot of things that stick out for sure. And it's a matter of getting into the core because there's a lot of things in there that are pretty rough for sure. And there's a huge difference between the Old Testament and the New Testament. They're like reading totally different things. My great great grandma was Cherokee. Okay. Yeah, my great great grandma was born on an Indian reservation in Oklahoma. I think the political end of it is all mostly illusion. It's more of a spiritual war, really. But you know, it's also a war of resources, and humans are a resource to some of these beings. Smokies are beautiful. Lawrence of Aragorn. Yes, I think there's a lot of people that don't need it, and that's something that you know a lot would disagree with me on. Honestly, I think you know we could go to the inside, and you know you have to connect to your higher self and to your own personal truth. So I don't think that there's any one dogma that we really need to have, or any dogma. And I think that's part of where we're heading to, because dogma is all man-made. It's all basically it's the stuff we attach to the spirituality. So ultimately, it's all about how you know your connection to source, your connection to the higher realms, your connection to light and love, and basically compassion. And it's all about what you do. You know, what you do, what you feel. Does the love come across? You know, do you help people, or are you not helping people? Are you, you know, putting good energy out into the world, or not? Just the opposite. Hey, Pooh Bear. Pooh Bear is beautiful goddess. Namaste. Yeah, exactly. Politics is used to keep us looking in one direction, while something else is more important that's happening somewhere else. Daniel R., you're so right. I mean, there were hundreds of books in circulation. They picked out 66 by hand. So, and then most of the other ones, all the copies they had, they tried to get rid of, because it was Constantine that was, orchestrating this through his cardinals, and it was all about basically keeping the empire going. So there was definitely they had a method to their madness. Ivy says there's booming sounds in California. Truth serum, you're totally right. Divide and conquer. And if you look at Albert Pike, that's exactly what he said they constantly do. They create one new ideology to go and destroy the last one, or to create a war that's going to wipe out millions of people. This is how they keep us split up. And it goes all the way back to the Tower of Babel. When I first read the Tower of Babel, I was like, wait a minute. The earth is united and they're all of one mind and one accord, and that's a bad thing? And look at what they do. They're going to build a tower to reach to the heavens, and they could be like us. Come, let us go down there. I mean, that's what I mean. It's confusing. When you start really reading into it, you could see that it's been tampered with, to say the least. And there's multiple agendas in there. There's quite a few agendas in there. There are agendas of spiritual enlightenment. There's simple agendas of just giving you simple spiritual truths. And then there's agendas of control and deception that has been woven in as well, unfortunately. Yeah, and the corruption's because it's our negative sides, our tendencies, to be selfish, to be greedy, and to want to control. But I think that from what I'm seeing, Ascension's working so that the people that have more good in them are becoming more and more and more good, are really, evolving upwards fast, at a very, very fast pace. What type of action would you like to see the lightworkers do.com? Yeah, a lot of the native cultures, Jane, speak of a time before, actually even before the moon was here too, which is fascinating. So the thought is perhaps the Anunnaki brought the moon with them. Perhaps that's their base, or one of their bases. A love and light revolution would be beautiful. One of the things we can't do is get caught up and brought into any sort of actual conflict, because that's what they want. Wars always end up being bloody, and revolutions often end up being bloody. And that just ends up being, more of the same, more corruption and more ego comes in. And then, the hatred, and it just spirals down. So we know we can't do that. So Lilith says the moon was Kingu. Yes, I mean, yeah, I've heard a lot of people think that the moon is a soul trap. Evelyn, how are you? Yeah, Natasha's journey. Yeah, there's a certain energy to the moon, And there's a lot of anomalous things to it. I have a video it's pretty old. It's one of the first ones I did all about the moon. Well, Lawrence, there's a lot of stuff in there. The bad part too is the thought that you're born into sin just by being born. There's something wrong with you. Truth serum, boy, you have quite a few animals there, which is really cool. I've had a lot of animals in my time. At one time, I had probably 12 dogs, about 3 cats, turtles, birds, all sorts of stuff at the same time. I just put the link back out there again for the radio show that will be on tomorrow. And so it'll be every Tuesday from 10 till midnight. And it's on Freedom Slips Revolution Radio. And it's on Schedule A. Yeah, also, Natasha, if the moon wasn't there, the planet might not be anywhere as near as friendly or as habitable as it is. Yeah, definitely. You get an awful lot of love. We were actually breeding them at one time. That was my ex-wife. She had a breed and she wanted to breed them, and she did training and agility as well as dog grooming. I sent another link out, Branky. Yep, the tides make life. I could do it on a regular basis for sure. What do you guys think? Do you think like a live stream once a week is good? Hi, Lisa. Nice to see you. Yeah, it is. Goons are us for sure. The fact that the exact distance to give us a full eclipse exactly. Okay, so once a week or more. 3 times. It's good for you guys to all interact as well. It definitely helps the family connect. Yep, this was actually something that's like I just was kind of testing it. So I will definitely let you guys know in advance when we're going to be doing it. The colors of each dimension, I feel different frequencies for sure. During a pole shift, Jimmy, well, I mean, that's when some say it's as if it looks as if the stars are falling to the sky, from the sky down to the heavens. And some think it might be what was referred to as like the 3 days of darkness. So when the crust does move, we would definitely have tremendous winds, and we would have incredible tsunamis. Javier, good to see you. Thank you. What color have I been told my aura is? It changes. It's various things at different times. Can you see my aura, MM? What's our timeline's color right now? What do you mean by that, Ivy? You didn't see the link? It should be in coming out right now underneath my Evolutionary Energy Arts text. Well, obviously the most obvious truth is that we need to live out of love and compassion. Buddha was all about compassion, and also the fact that what we're living in is total Maya, it's total illusion. And a lot of the scientists now are starting to think that we do live in just sort of a matrix. And maybe this is like just one big, huge computer program for us to come in and explore in a sense, and to test ourselves and see how we're going to react and see how we're going to progress and what we're going to do in situations that we're finding ourselves in, like right now. So ultimately, it's really all about, what emotions you're holding: love, empathy, compassion. Those are the type of things we need to cultivate all the time. Oh, so you guys are getting periwinkle, deep purple. Very cool. Hmm. Hmm. I have said that about the ant farm many times. Yeah, Sunsaver. I definitely, I was drawn to Buddhism a lot in my early 30s, and then went into a Taoist point of view for a long time, and still can see things from a Taoist point of view in many respects. Thought Criminal says reality is discrete, which thought really weird to have a continuous point of view. Yeah, I mean, my viewpoints have changed a lot over the years, a ton. It feels like I'm constantly evolving and swimming and floating and going into something new, and with each new layer of understanding, moving forward into a better, more complete understanding. Seven figures of Hinduism. I'm not sure what you mean by that. I mean, you're taking Brahma, and then Brahman, Shiva, and Vishnu, and then Parvati, Saraswati, and Lakshmi. I've had a hard time matching up Hinduism with the rest of the other mythologies and religions, really, in some sense. I mean, at the pure core, it's so obvious because, in Hinduism, the ultimate Brahma is unknowable. So we can't really understand it because it's way beyond us. There's no way we can understand it with our limited physical brains. So we understand it as these different gods and different goddesses in order to humanize it so we can really understand it. Um, and yet, each one of those gods and goddesses is real on a different level. They're not source, but the Hindus don't think that they're source all complete. They're source just like you and I are a part of source as well. So it's really kind of interesting, and it goes well with Taoist philosophy, and also it goes well with, you could look at the Gnostic traditions as well. Ein Sof, Ein Sof Or. Yeah, it's hilarious. Shiva thinks Vishnu is God. Vishnu knows Shiva is. This does feel like family. It's a beautiful thing. Lilith, I've gone through so many different correlations and correspondences, thinking this is this, thinking Shiva and Poseidon, right? Because they both have the trident, and thinking that's Ea. And it's there's just so many different correspondences that we could do like that. Jane, I was hearing today, Odin is Thoth, is Mercury is Hermes. And I don't know if you've ever heard that. Enki and Enlil, yeah, that seems like that seems like it'd be very easy to see how that could be a big portion of the whole conflict that we have going on. Enki being the snake and Enlil being the eagle, right? And there's so much to that. So, I mean, what level were these beings? Were they 3D actual physical, like humanoid beings, or are they something on the astral plane? Because, if you look into Buddhism, if you really look into Buddhism, it's fascinating. And because the Buddhist will tell you that, like, all these other gods exist more on the astral planes and in other dimensions, and they're real. And so there's some forms of Buddhism that will tell you, for instance, like if you believe in Yahweh, Yahweh's there. Yahweh's there in an astral realm. So your anticipation to go and live in heaven under the guidance of Yahweh and Jesus, that's what you're going to experience, because that's what you expect when you die. So your soul, your the part of you, your Yuan Shao and Qigong and in Taoist thought will go ahead, and that's where it's going to go until it goes and takes another body again. Glad you're enjoying the chat. All good, very good thoughts, guys. Well, I want to thank you guys for joining me for this live chat, and I'm going to cut it at this point. And do you guys want me to do this basically maybe in another 3 or 4 days? Good. All right, I'll announce it when we do the next one. So thank you guys so much. Love and light to you all. May you guys be blessed with abundance, peace, health, and prosperity. And may you always be guided to a safe place and find the right connections and keep building this family, everybody. Keep building it. Much love to you all. Namaste, my friends, and God bless.